right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 0 of Lost in the Warp. Today we're going to just give a brief run through of what we are doing here, what our episodes might look like, and kind of go from there. First off, my name's Riley,
And my name is Ethan.
and we're going to be the two hosts of this YouTube podcast discussion type thing that we're doing here. Ethan, please go ahead and take it away. Talk about what we're actually going to be doing here.
Yeah, so the main focus that we're going to start with is we wanted to talk about how something looks on the tabletop, like a particular unit, versus how it looks in the lore, and then how those things stack up. One of the things that I personally haven't found a lot of in Warhammer 40k commentary has been, does the tabletop actually represent the lore? And so, really, that's kind of the starting point that we wanted to dive into and really answer that question. Eventually, someday, when we have a little bit more experience and some more videos under our belt, we want to expand into things like trivia game shows, such as Jeopardy, move into maybe some lore deep dives, do book clubs, and eventually get into talking about the hobby itself. It's something we both very much enjoy, painting minis, talking about new minis, and, kind of talking about the state of the game on the tabletop in maybe the casual environment and maybe a little bit into the competitive environment. It is important to note here though that we are doing this for fun in our free time. We do both have jobs, so we don't really have a set release schedule. That may change as we get further into this, but for now, this is just a fun side project for us, and hopefully it can be fun for you all as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's really just it. We are casual dudes playing this game. Like, we talk about it together. We don't have elaborate amounts of experience in terms of playing in competitive tournaments or anything like that. We're just two average dudes that want to share our ramblings with the world. So, some of our experience with 40K, we both independently kind of knew about 40K and were interested in it for a couple years. And we were playing in a group of Magic together. We played a lot of Commander. And when the Universes Beyond Warhammer decks came out, we both kind of looked at each other, knew we both kind of liked 40K, and then used it to justify the spending of lots of money since.
Yeah.
This all started kind of the last 9 months of ninth edition. But since we got into the tabletop hobby together, it kind of allowed us to learn the game together. So I started with Death Watch, and Ethan, you started with Guard, right?
Yeah, so I bought the Guard Start Collecting and a Rogaldorn. That was my first purchases. And from there, there's been a lot more added, but it was
Yeah,
those were the first ones.
yeah, and like Death Watch, which is infamously dying, doesn't really have many of its own sets. So like I started with a Space Wolves Combat Patrol that I kit bashed into
Oh, that's
Death
right.
Watch. Yeah.
I forgot that was a Space Wolves Combat Patrol.
Yeah. Hey, it's got the tactical war suit.
That's right.
But yeah, since we've amassed much more, I have almost a complete Custodes army, painting them as Solar Watch because the Golden Boys are overrated. And Ethan, you have.
Yeah, so like the true Warhammer nerd degenerate that I am, I have my now approximately 3,000 points of Guard, approximately 4,000 points of Dark Angels, and 2,000 points of Imperial Knights. And I've also recently taken the dive into Chaos a little bit, and I have 1,000 points of Iron Warriors that I'm painting. That I'm about halfway done with it so far, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm in danger. He scares me with what he does and his shenanigans, but we still have fun. And part of the thing is like with this hobby, we have learned and grown through it all together. Like we mentioned, we started kind of the last little tail end of ninth edition, but we got our stuff, started with a 500 point game, and sat down at a table that was covered in like piles of books for terrain, totally wrong size, and we basically forced ourselves to learn how to play.
I don't think we ever actually got around to playing with objectives. We were just killing each other the whole time, and
Oh,
it
100%.
was so fun.
Yeah, yeah. I was squishing guardsmen. You were making my war suit absolutely useless, and I was so upset.
Yeah, those were interesting times when the Rogel Dorn's oppressor cannon was just that much better.
Ugh, disgusting. So towards the end of ninth edition and the beginning of 10th, I took a little bit of a break from the tabletop. Just life got busy, and I didn't want to have to relearn how to play. To be perfectly honest, it was kind of a overhaul on some things. So Ethan stuck with it throughout that, but I that's when I really started to dive into the lore and reading some books and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I had a group that I consistently played with at least once a week, and I really broadened my understanding of the tabletop there. But we both stayed very consistent in the lore. I know we followed a lot of other podcasts and watched many videos, read many books. My current project that I've been doing for about a little less than a year now has been reading the entire Horus Heresy series from book 1 to I think it's like book 54. I can't quite remember how many there are, but I'm currently on book 15. So we're getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah, and I've been working my way through the Siege of Terra part of the Horus Heresy, as well as other offshoots of things I'm interested in. Learning more about the custodians by reading Valdor. If you haven't guessed, despite the current state of the Death Watch, I do really like the Inquisition lore and specifically Eisenhorn. He's cool, rest in peace. And so I have the Eisenhorn omnibus on my shelf staring me down that I really need to start. So, we're always kind of enveloped in some bit of lore and we see each other pretty regularly. So we'll just be like, guess what happened in this part of the book? And that's kind of really what stemmed the idea for this whole thing that we're doing here right now because we will start talking about whatever we just learned about. And then it's 3 hours have passed and we're like, holy crap, this is too much. We ramble. Hopefully someone else can enjoy this too.
Yeah, because I think there have been times where we've gone down the rabbit hole and we've started at talking about some event in the Infinite and the Divine, for example, and somehow we're back into the Horus Heresy talking about just how a certain character did something. It was just the rabbit holes we go down, we figured someone else may find enjoyment in this, not just us. So that's kind of why we're here.
Yeah, yeah. And worst case scenario, now we have like a catalog of our ramblings, so we can go back on them. And if one of us says something completely out of line, we'll be like, "No, we talked about this before." So it's a win-win for us, I think. Yeah, I think that's really the big stuff we have for this, episode 0, laying out who we are, why we want to do this, and most importantly, what we're gonna do. So we're gonna hopefully have the first video up in a week or so from now. We'll see how that goes. But our bread and butter is going to be that tabletop and lore comparison.
Yeah. I think without further ado, I have nothing else. If you have nothing else,
That's it for me.
all right. Well, then thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you in future episodes.